Hey, everybody, and welcome back to More Than Just Kicks. We are here, and it is now the second episode. We are going to be talking about excusing expectations. So, a lot of times, we as people are operating with people on a daily basis. We have people that we are close with, we have friendships, various relationships, and things like that. And with that, you don't always get what you give. And that becomes an issue. So what do we do when our expectations of individuals are not met? How do we handle that? Do we handle it properly or improperly? Do we get in our feelings and leave them alone? Or do we just kind of brush it off our shoulders and figure it out from there? So with this episode, I'm gonna have a guest today. It's the first of many, but I feel like he would be the right person for this topic. We met in undergrad, and we had a rocky start to our relationship. So I let his roommate borrow my math book. And while he was getting what he needed from the math book, I was playing my now friend's Xbox. And when he got home, he just saw this random person playing his Xbox, and he was not happy. Now, granted, I understand, but I was under the impression that I was playing the other guy's Xbox. But that's neither here nor there, because we were able to get beyond that. I am forever grateful for the relationship that he and I have developed. For this topic in particular, I knew that he would be the perfect person to touch on this subject. With his career background, his life experiences, and just trusting his honesty from our friendship that we have developed, I knew for sure that he would be the perfect person for this. And also, with that, my plan is to allow you all to possibly see yourselves within this conversation. But before we get into that, I'm going to give you all a little bit more background on guest. His name is Raphael Bosley. He is a licensed therapist and has been for 13 years, okay? With these 13 years, he has gained experiences of working with people of all walks of life, being able to address their depression, their anxiety, their trauma, things with family, interpersonal issues, and a number of other things. Born and raised in Tennessee, he made his way to Fort Wayne, made that his home, and that's where he and I met. Having a great sense of humor, professional purpose, and just a number of other things that makes him the person that he is and why he was a great fit. Aside from that, his motivation to work in mental health stems from his own adversity and life challenges, which has taught him to operate with optimistic perspective. Despite the darkness of any situation, he believes good can be discovered and used as a motivational tool to rebuild, reorganize, and rebrand. So, with all of those great things said, we're going to get into the episode. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think, and let's get into it. All right, everybody. So, as I stated, now that the introduction has been put into play, I present to you all Raphael, my best friend. And I'm going to give him the floor so that he can give you all a little bit more insight about who he is, give him his side of our friendship. I already told y'all about the whole Xbox thing, but allow him to just share with you who he is, who we are as friends, and we'll get right into the topic. So.
Thank you, Tierra. Let me first start off by saying thank you for allowing me to just join your space. I know this podcast is your baby, and you are intentional about bringing on people that you feel can offer something to your audience. So I thank you for, sliding me in. So yeah, as you already shared, we're best friends. We've been rocking since college days. And our friendship dates all the way back to our younger years of college, being lost, trying not just to find our major, but trying to find out where we fit in this world.
Right.
And so I value your friendship. And I valued your friendship back then just because you wasn't just someone that I shared laughs with, but you got a chance to hear the things I struggled with. And it was several moments that you wasn't just a listening ear, but your words, your guidance was the compass that I used to kind of get to my point B from where I was at that time. So I thank you. and I'm grateful
Absolutely.
for our friendship. I am a licensed mental health counselor. I'm also associate minister. I'm also an adjunct professor at Ivy Tech Community College. I'm a husband, a dad, a brother, son, bunch of different things, but I really try to just simply be a good human. And I look for different ways where I can just show up and, man, just be the salt of the earth, meaning just try to figure out how to not make things worse or better.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's me. I'm grateful to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I'm looking forward just to see how what we talk about help people, as
Yeah,
well as how it helps us as we talk about it. So
absolutely.
yeah, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. So yeah, we have attempted to record this before, ran into a couple issues. One, we got through the whole thing and recorded nothing, which was my fault. But learning comes with this. Also just his schedule being one way, my schedule being another way, and things like that. But we are here. He was able to squeeze me in, still making moves. So we're going to get right into it. So I don't hold up too much of his time. But as I stated, we are going to be talking about excusing expectations. So with excusing expectations, it allows us to understand why people operate the way that they do. So with understanding how people operate the way that they do, with that is going to be challenges of letting go or holding on to them. So with that, what are some possible benefits and or struggles of loving people through expectations?
That's really good. I would say I notice as a counselor, whether a person admits it or not, that a lot of us, we really do have this silent expectation for people just to mirror whatever it is that we're giving off or match our energy. I was kind of like sitting with that, like, why do we do that? But then I realized that most of us have been raised with this instruction to treat people the way we want to be treated. Right? If we learn from that instruction to just simply believe that if I show up this way, the other person is going to show up in a way that's close to how I'm showing up. Right? And even though we were kids when we learned it, I noticed that even as adulthood, we still believe that method is true, right? Or believe that that is true. But like you pointed out, like what are some negative things that can come from that, or some challenges?
Yeah.
I notice it is a setup for disappointment. I notice it creates space for miscommunication. And I also know it kind of just cripples authenticity for ourselves as well as other people. Just because the disappointment is, no matter how close a person pays attention to you and what you do, they'll never be you because they're not designed to be.
True.
Does that make sense? But if you're holding them close to that expectation, you would punish them for them being uniquely different, or you would punish them for the fact that they're not you. Does it make sense? Simply because they did not meet your expectation. And we learn that disappointment comes when an expectation isn't met. The authenticity. I don't let you be you because I'm desiring for you to be me. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And so that is some challenges that come when we are holding a person to that expectation of being us or wanting them to be us.
That's good.
Yeah. And the benefit, I don't know if I want to argue that side, right? Because I don't want people to be like, oh, yeah. The benefit could be, it can start off as a template for what you do desire. Right? A blueprint or a model that you hand, like, hey, like, I really want you to just show up the way I'm showing up for you. Like, it's a good conversation starter, but in starting the conversation, still be open for them to say, okay, good start, but this is what I'm thinking, or this is how I want to show up. So the benefit is it's a good starter. Like, it's a good template to start out with when it comes to you guys starting a conversation on how you want the other person to show up, or the rubric in which you're going to hold them up to, you know? Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
It's definitely a struggle because we as people, we operate differently. But when we operate in a certain manner, especially if you are a good person, because not all people have the ability to be good people, you know? And with that, just having the expectation that everyone is going to operate the same way you do or be close to operating the way that you
Mm,
do. Having that
yeah.
expectation and not getting it, that's a big
Mm,
letdown.
mm,
So that's definitely a challenge that comes with it, in my opinion. But even with that, you have to find a way to love those people through those challenges. I guess we can't necessarily make people act the way we want them to act,
mm,
but we learn to operate with how they act, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
You
Yeah.
know,
I hear you loud and clear. But what's interesting is people really do set out to make people be a certain way, right?
yeah,
Manipulative people. And I know some people are like, don't put that on me. But there are individuals who cope with their hurt by creating strategy to make people be a certain way. And they know that it is effective and it works with some people.
yeah,
Does it make sense?
yeah,
All right. I know no one that listens to the podcast is that way, but I'm sure they know someone else
yeah.
who's that way that not, I don't want to say pray, right? Not Pray, but Prey.
EY,
They
yes.
scan people to see who has the personality that they can show up in the way that they want to show up and change that person.
Hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah,
And so their
yeah,
preferences isn't attraction, it isn't looks. Does that person show up in a way that I can mold them
hmm.
into who I want them to be?
Yeah,
Does it make sense?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know.
Hmm.
But again, I know nobody on the podcast stay that way.
Yeah,
Everybody perfect.
let's hope not. Let's hope
Yeah,
not. You
yeah.
know,
I'm sure they're not out here,
you
scan and
know.
see who can I shape into my
Who's
person.
the next? Who's the next
Yeah.
victim? You know, just scoping
Yeah.
them out. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So with that, and as I stated before, and as you also stated, with you being a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the ability to fix things and fix others, you know, because that's what you studied and that's what you found to be your career path, your life path, you know. So being able to help others, has there ever been a time where you haven't been willing to always help yourself, or how does that look when it comes to having that expectation of others where you're forced to put yourself in the other shoes?
That's a good question. I have to honestly say, even though I am a counselor, I'm still guilty
Hmm.
of procrastinating when it comes to completing the work that I need to, completing the inner work that I need to take care of.
Yeah.
Right. And I offer myself the excuse of, hey, you can just help people, right? You can just help them reach their goal and all of that. And so I say that to say that I don't even want to use my clients as an example. I'm going to use me, right?
Okay.
That I notice that I find a sense of healing or
Hmm.
feeling better when I'm able to help others in a way that I wish I could help myself.
Yeah.
That I'm more confident in my ability to help others change than I am to help myself make a change.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense? And so
Yeah.
if I'm not feeling good and I don't want to feel a sense of rejection, I'm not about to do no inner work because you know what I mean? Like, because I'm not about to disappoint
Either.
myself. And I'm reminded that this is a struggle area for me.
Yeah.
And so to avoid it, I just focus in on others. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Right. But then I later find out that I'm hurt. It hurts me to help them. Right. Not so much in everyday practice, but I notice when I'm neglecting myself,
Hmm.
it starts off, that's the deception. It starts off feeling good, but I always go to bed later that night when I'm really just processing the day, not feeling good because I notice that, like, why are you giving other people something that you're not giving yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah. And so again, to kind of bring it back to what you were saying, like me, it's very easy for us to help other people. And we do it to cover up the fact that we struggle to believe that we really can help ourselves.
I feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, with me, I'm not one who likes attention. So me
Mhm.
even doing this is,
Mhm.
new,
Mhm.
out of my comfort zone. And I don't know if I'm opening the door yet, but at least I let the shade up on the window
Mhm. Yeah.
to let people in to see that I'm human too,
Mhm.
and there's so much to me that I
Mhm.
haven't pretty much let out because I'm so to myself. I never
Mhm.
really have been one who seeks the quantity of friendship, but more the
Mhm.
quality of friendships.
That's
I
good.
rather have a nice solid group versus 20 people who just are pulling from me because they want
Mhm.
something. But even with that, I find it better or easier to help others rather than helping myself because, again, I don't want that attention on me. Now, granted, there have been times where it's like, all right, kind of having it rough, need to talk
Mhm.
and vent a little bit. And instead of reaching out, it's kind of like I'm waiting for someone to say, hey, you been good? Just checking on you.
Mhm.
But again, you can't always have that expectation because people don't operate the same way you do. Now, granted, if I
Mhm.
don't hear from someone, I'll reach out and say, hey, everything okay on your end? How everything been going? But do we always get that? And that's when you have to excuse that expectation because, not everyone operates the same way. Not everyone sees the things that I see from my eyes because these are mine. So it's just a matter of just being able to accept the way people operate that you allow to be in your life and how close you may want them to you, or if you have to keep them at a distance, it's completely up to you, and it's completely fair. Pretty much just been allowing people to be who they are, and I have to continue on and just be accepting of that, or I just let it go. And I don't know if I can call that a coping mechanism or more of
Mhm.
a way of protecting myself, but I found it
Mhm.
to just work for me. Now,
Mhm.
can I say that that's
Mhm.
the best method? I don't know. But it's what works for me. Having that ability to fix someone or fix something, you can put something from your shelf and I can put that together, you
Mhm.
know, look at the instructions a couple times and I can go from there. Someone can
Yeah.
call me and say, what do you think of this? I
Mhm.
can give them examples and it's up to them to decide, which outcome they think will work best for them. When it comes to me, it's just that ability to get out of my own thoughts and asking why people choose to operate the way that they do when it comes to me, or not be willing to accept their faults or be willing to just show up in
Mhm.
certain ways. That's just something that I haven't been able to kind of get out of my box of, or just kind of secluded myself to that.
Yeah. You said something so good that I connected with. And it's one of the things like I noticed with me when it comes to like fixing other people or fixing ourselves is
Hmm.
I would say, and this is just my belief, right?
Hmm.
I believe as kids we do what we see versus doing what we've heard, right?
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what we like, old parents used to say, like, do what I say, right? I,
Yeah.
I say that because of this. A lot of us was raised in homes and we saw our parents fix other people, show up for other people, but very seldom did we get a chance to see them work on them.
True.
And so it's not unnatural for us to have followed a suit.
Hmm.
Whereas adults, it's more easier for us to show up for others, fix others, and
Yeah.
struggle to work on ourselves. Does that make
Just
sense?
mirror it. Yeah. Kind of mirroring that behavior. But
100%.
in different aspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. So yeah, so when you just
Yeah.
said that, it just like it connected to me. So it would be helping other people is easier, is the
Yeah.
easy route, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus kind of putting that attention on yourself in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
and dissecting you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't nobody want to be on that operating table, but you
Mm-mm.
know, sometimes we gotta go
100%.
there.
Yeah,
Sometimes
100%.
we gotta go there.
Yeah. And so even if we were to just look at it in the sense of like health, right?
Hmm.
It shows this to be true when it comes to just our well-being. That, and I don't even want to just say us black folks, but in general, like we don't go to the doctor,
Yeah.
right? And why? Like really, because we say we want to feel good, but we'll tell everybody else if they get sick, you need to go to the doctor. Does it, right? We
Yeah.
do that, right? Just
Yeah.
because there's a level of accountability that comes with being aware of what's going on.
Right. Never want to be put in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we have these expectations, you're not always going to get what you want. Because something that I've learned is when you have these expectations, you're ruining the experience.
Mm.
So when you're attempting to experience someone or something with someone, and you've already painted these expectations of them, and they aren't meeting those expectations, then you're just left pouting because you already painted this image, and they're not able to present themselves or mirror that image that you already painted. So with that, are you able to be okay with excusing the expectation that you already painted? Or because a person can show up one way and then turn out to be another way. So while you're sitting in that hurt, how do you unbox the mess?
Good question. I would say this personally. It took a lot of work, but I am at a point where I'm willing to exchange whatever expectation I have for a more realistic expectation. A more realistic expectation is one that the other person created, you know?
The reality of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. As therapists, you may be knowledgeable of what's best for a client, but it's in your best interest to collaborate with them, right? Because the chances for success are high when when the client collaborates with you and come up with their own goals, because they'll be more invested, right? It's less likely they will abandon it, right? But if it's your goals, as soon as they don't feel good, they're like, I really didn't want to do it no way. You know what I mean?
No way.
What is this person willing to offer, right? Or commit to? Like, how are they wanting to participate in what we share? Right. And then from there, you guys can collaborate to really create expectations for each other. And so, yes, I'm at the point where I'm able to do that. Right. And one of the things you also pointed out was if it does hurt you, or when you do give someone an expectation and they disappoint you, like, how do you navigate that hurt? Right. Are you at a point that you allow yourself to sit in it, or do you just run? Right. I'm now at a point where I know how to kind of sit in it. But there was a time where I would run, right? And the way that I would run is by quickly minimizing how it hurt me.
Yeah.
Like most of us are nonchalant with our emotions, where something really does hurt us, but in our commitment to not let the world know we hurt, we'll just downplay it, right? Meaning we're running from the emotion, we're running from the reality that you really did create a script where that person wasn't supposed to let you down and they did, and it bothered you, like, you know, but it's best that we do sit in it. And sitting in it isn't dwelling in it, but sitting in it is just simply like, yo, that bothered me. And I'm not going to quickly band-aid my feelings by telling myself it didn't hurt when I really know it hurt. And then once you sit in it, like, how do we move forward? I believe that was the question, right?
Yeah.
It's like after you sit in that hurt, you have to challenge yourself. Like, it's kind of like you got to put an expiration date or a deadline to sitting in the pain, right? You sit in it, but you got to tell yourself, like, okay, but after today, I'm not about to keep sentencing myself or directing myself to go sit in the corner and think about it. No,
Yeah.
right? By habit, when the pain comes, you may want to dwell and just recall the scenario or the situation. But no, in those moments, it's okay to remind yourself, I already thought about that. It
Yeah.
hurt, but I'm moving on.
So with that, of course, forgiveness has to come into play. But with forgiveness, how can you kind of trick yourself or alter your thinking to forgive the person, the people, the situation, but you can't forget it? And when that thought comes back, it puts you back in that place. So how do you move forward with forgiveness and with forgiving? What does that look like for you?
I promise we got to create a whole nother one on forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of these
Okay.
huge topics.
Okay.
But I would say this, like, all of us have had a moment where we've had to try to forgive someone, whether we know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not all of us have successfully forgiven someone, right? But we all have, in our own way, attempted to get past the situation that we should have never had to get past. Right?
Right.
But I want to say this before I finish this, because you said something that I want to address.
Mm-hmm.
How do I forgive if I can't forget? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It was something close to that. But one of the hardest things points to get to is to get to a point where you realize forgetting isn't a part of the criteria in order to forgive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most times we feel like the sign that I've fully forgiven is by the fact that I can't recall it or it don't pop up.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's certain pains that you felt that no matter how far on this journey of healing you get to, you still will be reminded. There still will be a trigger to let you know something happened that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
And so forgiveness, so we have put too high of a value on being able to forget something
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that area of forgiveness. But I also say, like, when it comes to forgiveness, one of the things that's important, we really got to ask ourselves, do I want to get past this?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like an honest question, even before we even entertain forgiving someone. I think we got to ask ourselves, do I really want to let this go?
Yeah.
Because even if you don't want to let it go, everything else I'm about to say don't even mean nothing.
It don't even matter.
It don't even matter. Because some of us want to stay mad. But some of us not so much want to stay hurt, but some of us like that power of having stuff over somebody. And so we don't even want to go through the process of forgiveness. We're not even interested in peeking behind the curtains to see what comes with forgiving someone.
Yeah.
Right? But for those that do look behind the curtain, I think number one, we have to, like, and this is my belief, we have to assess our readiness for forgiveness.
Okay.
And it goes with that question, like, yo, like, this hurts. Am I ready to get past it? So first, do I want to? After you say yes, secondly, am I ready? Like, that's the thing with forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to not be ready.
Yeah.
But at least you've already started the conversation with your heart that, hey, I'm going to have to get past this.
Mm-hmm.
Thirdly, and look, we ain't even talked about the other person yet. We got to change our perspective and understanding on forgiveness. It ain't, because once we realize it ain't for them, our participation changes. Because I see I got to do this for me so I can move through life lighter and not burden.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we continue to look at it as this is a gift for them, because the first moment they do something we don't like, guess what we're going to do? We're going to revoke that access. Sometimes some people don't even get access again. We're going to let them know even more that you ain't going to ever have a redo. You, like, I'm never going to let this go or forgive you. So we got to change our perspective with forgiveness.
So when you're attempting to forgive or gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I understand that this is for me, so I'm going to attempt to look beyond what it is that they did, but I want to heal me.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you can either choose to let the person go or continue to move forward with them. Say that you continue to move forward with this person, this friend, this parent, this whatever. and they do something else.
Hmm.
So it's just like you took another one to the chin.
No, no, that's like a good question. Like, there's no right or wrong.
Okay.
I really do think like a part of that assessment, of their
Hmm.
self-assessment, like a person has to ask themselves, moving forward, what would be best for me?
Yeah.
And sometimes what's best isn't reunification. It isn't restoration.
Hmm.
It isn't, all right, I'm gonna put you back in the position you was in before you did the whatever it is you did.
Yeah.
That isn't always the next steps in forgiveness, because sometimes it is, hey, I'm not gonna hold this over your head. I forgive you, but I'm not gonna put you back in the position to do it again.
Hmm.
Because again, like you just pointed out, like, yo, like I want to heal. And so no different than a scab or a wound on your arm. How do
Hmm.
you heal? By not messing with it.
Yeah. Don't pick with it. Yeah.
Don't pick with it. And not just don't you pick with it, don't you allow anyone else to pick with it
Yeah.
for however long is required or needed to get back where it can handle somebody picking at it. And so
Gotcha.
sometime in that healing journey, that's all you got to do is create a boundary. Like, yo, I forgive you, but I can't let you in close proximity to the wound
Hmm.
because you've already displayed behavior of not being able to keep yourself from hurting me. Like, because again, you've been injured, right? You've been injured because someone came in and hurt you. One of the ways you get past it isn't just forgiving them, but you
Hmm.
forgive yourself for allowing it to happen,
Hmm.
right? It's not blaming yourself, but you
Yeah.
forgive yourself like, yo, like, I'm sorry this happened on my watch.
Yeah.
Again, not blaming yourself, but just taking ownership. Again, not blame. Ownership, like, this happened.
Hmm.
Moving forward, right? This is the inner dialogue. This is how I plan to do my part in making sure you're not hurt the same way, aka boundaries.
Yeah.
And then the more you honor your boundaries, the more your inner self trusts that you got things under control when it comes to people,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And as time progresses and you're not getting picked with, guess what happens?
You gonna heal.
Man,
You gonna heal.
the error that works against us for a lot of us is we forgive and then we just don't put no bandage over the wound.
Yeah. I'm stuck on Band-Aid brand.
Man. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, believe it or not, boundaries are so important while you're healing or if you're trying to heal. Because again, if you're dealing with a person, because sometimes as family members, you don't get the luxury of just divorcing them
Hmm.
or putting a privacy fence where they can't come near you. No. Sometimes you live with them.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you got to deal with people, unfortunately, who haven't did their own work. And so because they haven't done their own work, that means they don't know what healing looks like.
Mm.
And so because they don't know what healing looks like, they don't understand not just the value, or I would say the importance.
Yeah.
And so because they don't understand that, they're not going to be able to behave or manage their behavior to protect something that's important or that you value.
Yeah. That makes
Does it make
sense.
sense?
It does. That does.
Yeah. I know this went like a long way. Sorry, like that.
No, no,
It
no,
give
no,
me
no.
geek. Yeah.
We need this. I get that. Okay. All right. So with that, and I
Mhm.
know that I've asked you questions and I've piggybacked a little bit and gave my opinion on a couple. Um, I'll let you take my seat now.
Mhm.
Any questions or thoughts or anything pertaining to this particular topic that you have for me?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say for you, where are you at when it comes to forgiveness? Not so much a person in general,
Hmm.
but when it just comes to forgiveness, what
Forgiveness as a
step?
whole.
Oh, yeah, what step or what place do you find yourself just struggling? You know what I mean? Like in the weight room, I can get through everything, but when it gets to squat, like no matter how much I work, when I get to the legs, that part just get
Yeah.
me. Right? What part of forgiveness and your understanding of forgiveness that you recognize, like, man, it gets me when it gets to this point?
I mean, I can sit in the hurt all day. I can sit
Mm-hmm.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
I can dissect it. But even with sitting in the hurt, the hardest part for me is figuring out why people choose to do the things that they
Mm-hmm.
do, and why am I now at a place of having to forgive? Because I do my best to treat people the way I want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to even get to the point of forgiveness because I'm stuck on the why.
Mm.
Because why did you feel, or why did you think, why did you act in this manner, or why did you not
Mm-hmm.
consider me enough to feel as if this would be okay?
Mm. I got you.
So
That's good.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
feel like it's important for a person to forgive? Like, do you feel like if a person choose not to forgive someone, which would suggest they moving forward with life carrying unforgiveness, do you believe that unforgiveness like takes away from a person's experience, like quality of life? Like, you know what I mean? You know, people say, "Oh,
Hmm.
you need to forgive," right? If they don't, do you really think unforgiveness messes with their quality of life?
I do, because it hardens your heart,
Man, say that one more
and
time.
it hardens your heart for
Man.
sure. And not being able to forgive can affect a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
because you're now operating on edge
Mm.
based off of, it could be one experience or multiple experiences, and you don't want to have to experience that again. So you now are in fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it's just like I said earlier, just a matter of protecting yourself. And with protecting yourself, it that comes with it. So I definitely think when you're living in protective mode, it takes away from certain experiences. But on the other end, it can also be helpful as well because you're able to look at things from a number of angles and not just be so. And there's nothing wrong with being or having tunnel vision, but with having tunnel vision with all things, it's not always good.
Mm.
But and I said a lot there and kind of rambled off. But
No,
to
you
answer
good.
your question, definitely, I think that having unforgiveness does affect the quality of life.
No, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah,
Where is Tierra still her own worst enemy? And so it's kind of close to just the title of expectation, right?
hmm,
And usually we are our own worst enemy when it comes to the expectation we assign for ourselves,
yeah.
assign to ourselves. And so for you, when it comes to that expectation, what is one expectation you feel like, man, I'm my own worst enemy, meaning like I need to change this. I need to
Yeah.
change it. Not because I'm terrible, not because anything other
Hmm.
than the fact that this no longer serves me trying to jump up and hit this bar.
I believe I'm my own worst enemy with the expectations of myself.
Mm.
In grade school, we set out and we have these thoughts, these plans, and just
Mm-hmm.
everything that we see set for our lives, being in
Mm-hmm.
college, after college, and things like that, and having these targets that we want to meet at a certain age, and we don't meet those targets. Um, there are a number of things that I saw for myself, and here I
Mm-hmm.
am, 34. I've accomplished some things, but not all. So I'm very hard on myself when it comes to that and in my mind about it. But at the same time, I try to remember and consider the things that I have accomplished and understand that my plan is not God's plan, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that I may have had set for myself, he could very well have said or decided it's not time, or not that person, or whatever the case may have been. So just being able to understand that, dissect that, and also accept that for myself. And I do know that though I'm saying this out loud, it's not that I don't know these things or have these thoughts and things like that. But I have to be honest and say I still beat myself up about certain things that I have not yet accomplished or have not yet done, because I have passed it on that timeline, you know?
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah,
Thank you for answering those.
absolutely. Okay, so since we have touched on the talking points and just understanding the challenges that come into having these expectations, being able to excuse them, the willingness to be able to fix yourself while fixing others, or choosing between the two, and sitting in the hurt while attempting to forgive. With all of those things that we touched on, advice for people who are in this situation, how would
hmm
you set yourself up to move forward?
I think one of the first things we do is like before we revamp our plan, we first have to revamp our perspective of things.
Hmm.
I'm real big on like just when I talk to people, like, all right, before we ready to run this play,
Yeah.
let's understand why we choosing this play, right? Perspective,
Hmm.
just our knowledge, like just because I feel like perspective has or holds so much influence on our experience. And so I would definitely just tell a person that first step is that
Yeah.
sit with it, understand, okay, this is why I need to forgive, or this is why I have to revamp, or meaning give new structure to, right? This is why I have to do it. But do it in a way that allows you to reclaim power. Because
Hmm.
when people disappoint us or hurt us, we feel so powerless. So it's
Yeah.
important that our next steps takes us in a direction that makes us feel as if we are empowering ourselves, meaning we're reclaiming power,
Yeah.
right? And again, a lot of that is connected to perspective, right? And so, like, so for myself, there's this story, and I'm gonna make this connection, hopefully. But there's the story of this 10-year-old boy who lived out in Colorado.
Hmm.
And this little boy woke up one particular morning and told his mom that he wanted to see an eagle fly. And so grabbed his binoculars, sack lunch, ran to the hills, went to the top of the hill because he wanted to see an eagle fly.
Hmm.
So as he sat there, everything that flashed across the sky, guess what he thought it was?
The eagle.
An eagle, all right? But
Yeah.
right before disappointment set in, guess what came? The eagle flying. And eagle is unlike any other bird because of its features,
Hmm.
right? From wingtip to wingtip is 8 to 9 feet, right? It soars at heights that no other bird can soar,
Yeah.
right? And again, if a person do their own study of the eagle, they really get to understand how the eagle separates himself from other birds. But for
Hmm.
this 10-year-old boy, it's just the fact that this is an eagle and
Yeah.
this eagle is soaring. So he, out of excitement, went back and forth from his binoculars to his cameras, just excited. But what was interesting is as he was paying attention to the eagle, he noticed that the eagle fixed his eye on the prey. And so
Mhm.
the eagle, while flying, just shot down fast, like a torpedo, just going fast, grabbed the prey and went back to flying. All right. And this
Okay.
little boy just excited, like, because it was a National Geographic moment. He's just so excited. All right. Who just going back and forth with the binoculars and taking pictures. But what was
Yeah.
interesting is that while he was doing that, he noticed that the eagle just dropped.
Hmm.
And now the boy is excited, but went to panic because he's looking around like, what happened to the eagle? He didn't see
Yeah.
anyone. He's like, oh, did somebody shoot it? But he didn't see anyone, but the eagle just shot down, fell about 100 yards. The little boy, 10, curiosity, he ran towards where the eagle fell, got right up on the eagle, face down to the ground, 8 feet of wings laying there. Little boy just trying to just plug all his clues. What happened? Like, how does the eagle fall? He grabbed the wing of the eagle, turned it over, and affixed to the eagle's chest was a weasel.
Mm.
The boy, again, being his own detective or investigator, trying to put the pieces together of what happened to the eagle. So he replayed, like, okay, the eagle must have been flying. He seen the weasel, wanted to eat, dropped down, got the weasel, and he tried to fly with the weasel.
Mm.
And then as he was noticing, he was like, oh man, because the weasel was attached to his chest, he was like, all right, so while the eagle was flying, the weasel bit into his heart. And
Mm.
so he tried to keep flying with the weasel affixed to his
Yeah.
heart, but what eventually happened? Eagle died.
Yeah.
The boy just started bawling because the boy, while crying, said, I see what happened. The eagle died not because the weasel was stronger. The eagle simply died because it refused to let go of the thing that was eating at him.
Mm.
That's the eagle, but what's our weasel?
Hmm.
What in our journey of life while flying through, what hurt has found its way, has bought real estate in our heart, and we're trying to live with it. That unforgiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Expectation,
Mm-hmm.
disappointment. We can go down the list. There's so many things that fit under that umbrella of expectation.
Yeah.
But this story teaches us that if we don't get to a point where we're able to let it go or drop it, guess what happened? It ends up dropping us.
Yeah.
And so as we revamp ourselves, meaning we give ourselves a different perspective when it comes to forgiveness, when it comes to assigning expectation to people, we have to
Mm-hmm.
understand it is so important that we let it go or we don't assign the expectation because it runs the risk of dropping us while in flight.
Hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And so I know myself, but I really know you, everyone that tunes in, you want them to fly. You
Yeah.
don't want a phone
Absolutely.
call where they telling you how some weasel, not just the person, but sometimes
Yeah.
habits, have dropped them.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
It does. That analogy is nuts.
Yeah. So in
But
short, as they
yeah.
say, we gotta let it go.
Yeah.
Expectation, like that's why I say the forgiveness is for us. We if we want to fly, it ain't even about someone else. It's about I gotta let it go. Because if
Yeah.
not, it's going in my pursuit to greatness and my flight to becoming the best version of myself, I realize that what I have allowed in my heart that doesn't belong there,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't get rid of it, if I don't drop it,
Yeah.
it's gonna drop me. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I needed
Mhm.
that.
Oh no, I need it too. I did. Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah.
So, with that being said, we as people have to be willing to let go of the weasels that are in our lives.
Mm,
Because otherwise, we won't be able to take flight. And
mm,
in the end,
mm,
that said weasel or weasels, if it's more than
mm,
one thing that's hindering you, it'll end up taking over, and that's not something that we need. It's not something that you need. It's not something that I need, you know? With that being said, we have to learn to let go. And with learning to let go, we got to excuse those expectations. And with excusing those expectations, it's going to take work, but you got to be willing to do the work. When I say that, I'm not just talking to you all that may be watching this. I'm not just talking to, I was about to call you Tez. I'm not just talking to
You can
Raphael.
call it to
But I'm talking to me too. And there are a number of things that we have to be willing to let go in order for us to just move forward. I think it's time that we put forth the work, put forth the effort, and allow things to just be. Because if we don't, it's going to continue to just eat away at our hearts. And with it eating away at our hearts, we're going to be losing in the end. So we're going to wrap up this second episode of More Than Just Kicks. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Tez, I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you for making time for this, for sharing your opinion, for sharing your knowledge, your insight, and most importantly, for being my friend. And until next time, as always, you all be ready to get comfortable while being uncomfortable, okay? I feel like excusing these expectations is going to definitely make you uncomfortable. But in the end, you'll find comfort once you let those things go. So, again, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, love always, more than just kicks. Not breathe your air. This is my breath.